classes, we help people get started down the ham radio rabbit hole, is the best way to put it, okay? And work with you to explain why you need communications, how to communicate. All right, one of the things, what is communications? Have you ever thought about the definition of communications?
And I think everybody's definition may be a little different, but there's going to be similarities.
All right, communication is the transmission or sharing of information.
Come on.
Multiple ways to do that. All right, one of the ways that we're going to be talking about is through radio. All right, why do you need radio and communications? We just had a question right when we were getting started. Well, we all use this little pocket computer right here. Every bit of it. Okay? This is our lifeline. If we don't have it in our pocket, we go back, we find it, we've turned around, driven miles just to get our phone back in our pocket because we don't feel whole without this phone. All right? So, but what happens in an event, could be anything, natural disaster, could be a major football game in your town. And go ahead.
I was going to say, just a year ago, if you will remember the attempt on Trump, the assassination attempt on Trump, the first 15 minutes after that happened, most cell phones were shut down. And you may not have realized it because it was a short period of time, but they did not work for just a little short time period after that.
Yes. We were on the road coming back from Bowling Green. And when that occurred, and a friend of ours who was up here knew we were on the road and was trying to send us information. And it took over 15 to 20 minutes for that information to go through because the cell services were locked out. All right? One thing to note, if you have a major event in your town, the cell towers will get overloaded. You can't make a call. And I'm sure some of you have experienced that before. All right? So, you can't get out. You're stuck on the side of the road. You can't use this because the cell towers are down. All right? Text messaging may or may not go through. So that's why we start talking about your PACE plan, primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency for communications. All right? Like we said, this is your primary, right here. You're going to call and talk to somebody. Your next move, if you can't call and talk to them, you're going to do your alternate. You're going to send them a text message. What do you do then? You can't get through either way.
They get in the car and they go over.
That would be your emergency.
Yeah.
Okay? That would be your emergency. But your contingency could be this right here. This little $40 radio.
But one of the things when you're trying to think about the PACE plan, making a communications plan, and you're going to have multiple kinds, you need to know who it is you're trying to contact. Who do you want to talk to? And where are they in relationship to where you are? Most everybody I know, their very first communication plan is with the immediate family, those people in your household, those children or parents that you're responsible for taking care of. And you've got to work out a plan with them first because that's your first priority. Then after that, you may want to extended family. My children no longer live in the same town I do. I've also got to figure out how to contact them. It's going to be different than the person that lives across the street or across town. And then, maybe I need to be communicating with my local community, so I'm broadening that circle. And then, our local community's not getting any information. We've got to go further out. How are you going to do it? It's all communication planning.
Because communications, like I said, sharing of information. It can be a two-way street or it can be a one-way street. All right? You're tuned in to the local weather net for your ham radio people, okay? So you're just sitting there listening. They're telling you what's going on. You don't have to relay any information, but you're absorbing that information. Because information and knowledge is power. You cannot make an informed decision about anything without information. That's why you're in this room right now, to get more information about radios and communications so you can make a decision. All right? Hurricane season. The peak of hurricane season's coming up. All right? So what do? Those of us that are in the coastal areas, we watch the Weather Channel to know what is going to come our way, because we're seeking that information so we can make a decision. Do I need to leave or can I stay? And if I'm going to leave, where am I going to go? How far is this going to track? All right? And then you left, something hits in your area, cell towers are down, like what happened in eastern Tennessee, western North Carolina. They were on radios for weeks over there. That's the only way they had to communicate. You could take your radio, your skilled operator, contact somebody down in your area and find out what happened. Oh no, your house is fine. We sent somebody out to check. Oh, sorry, it's gone. You know, there was an operator in, I believe he was in North Carolina, Little Germany, had a 5-watt Bofang radio up there on top of their hill, and got out. There was one repeater on a mountain that was functioning, and an operator went up there and started relaying information.
But what is a repeater?
A repeater. Glad you asked that question. A repeater. It is an antenna on a high antenna tower with a radio down below. I know the frequency of that particular repeater. Information, my radio signal goes into it and gets rebroadcast further. The repeater in our area is on a 500-foot tower. It has about a 45-mile range. Okay? So I'm 20 miles away from it, I hit it, and it rebroadcasts it another 20 or 25 miles in other directions. So I can talk to a lot of people.
Now, we have been in our area, we've had tornadoes come through, and it took down every repeater and tower in our area, so we were only talking very short distances at that point.
Yeah, and that's called simplex. Radio to radio is called simplex.
What distance is typical? Is there a typical distance
On simplex?
between radio to radio?
Yes. All right, you're gonna, when you're exploring ham radio and in any radio communications, you're gonna hear this a lot. It depends, okay? Are you trying to talk from valley to valley with a mountain in between? It's not gonna go through the mountain. These radios are line of sight, okay? So, but if you're on flatlands,
It goes a long
it goes a long way, okay? Through the trees, 3-4 miles, depending. Hill to hill, when I'm on this hill over here, and she's over on this hill,
and there's no hill in between
no
us.
hill in between us, 10, 12 miles. One of the things, yes, sir, ma'am.
Maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but we're talking about natural disasters.
Mhm.
What about EMPs?
EMP, okay. We've never been through an EMP.
Not
Okay?
in my lifetime.
Not in my lifetime. There's lots of studies on EMP, so I'm referring to the studies that I know, okay? How much of it is really gonna affect us, I don't know. They say that you should put these in Faraday cages, in Faraday bags. Do I have them in there? Yup. Okay? I have, it's the same philosophy, my philosophy, you know, 1 is none, 2 is 1, well, 3 is what you need. All right?
Okay, 3 bags or 3 separate radios and
3
bags?
separate radios in bags.
Okay.
Okay, and I have them in different locations. We have them in the trucks, okay? I also have a large Faraday box in my shop. It's a metal shop, but I have a large Faraday, and I have base stations in there, I have power supplies in there, extra handhelds, all of the stuff. Because we don't know how that's gonna affect.
Are ham radios affected by EMPs?
The radio, they are electronic devices. So as such, depending on who you talk to, these electronic devices could be affected by them, yes. I don't know for sure. So I do this, I put my stuff away. I do know that based on radio propagation and what happens after an EMP, that the atmosphere is going to be full of charged particles. All right? So for a period of time after that goes off, these aren't going to communicate.
No.
Okay? They may do short range, all right? But it's going to be effective in communications? Yes, it is.
And we know that because even now, the sun spots, the sun flares, the flares that come off the sun, there are time periods, even on HF radio, the big rigs, where there's a blackout period in places because of the sun activity. Sometimes it'll last 30 minutes, sometimes it'll last 3 or 4 hours.
Does that have any regularity or any predictability? Like this season of the year is when it happens the most often, or this time of day, or no?
No.
There are, the Weather Center does predict solar flares, okay? And there are websites that you can go to. I've got one up that runs continuously behind my stuff that tells me what the solar flares is and tells me what propagation is. Propagation is how well your radios get out.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's propagation. And propagation is affected by terrain, weather, solar flares, etc., EMP, okay? So, will it work? After a couple of days, yes, it will work. And yes, sir.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine, we're good.
Don't your thoughts?
Yes, yeah.
In the situation that she had explained where you've got multiple family members and let's say we're talking 60 miles to 150 miles, everybody's scattered about, does the $40 radio you're referring to work in that situation, or do you now have to upgrade to a more expensive radio for each one of the family members to have in order to communicate?
That depends.
It always
Depends on whether or not there's repeaters in between.
Depends on if there's repeaters in the way. What is the terrain like between those people?
Well, 60 to 120, 150 miles, I mean, you got all of it.
You've got everything, every bit of it. So, will these radios do it? Nope. They're not gonna do it,
Now,
okay?
I'm gonna back up on
Go
that.
ahead, go ahead.
Because you're talking about repeaters also. Some states, some areas have repeaters in strategic places and they are linked together. So your signal could go to this repeater, this repeater, this repeater, and get further down the road. But it's not dependable, not everywhere does. In Mississippi where we are, there are no linked repeaters. So,
Tennessee is linked and Georgia's linked,
and part of North Alabama is linked.
yes.
So it's a roll of the dice,
Right,
whether or not each family member will be able to communicate.
Right.
yes.
Now, yes, you would need to up your radio to HF to go longer distances, but that means you have to have a general license to operate on HF. So you would have to pass a test. But also, sometimes there is a repeater that HF ham radio operators listen to, and if somebody puts a message out, they can then relay to somebody in your area or your house if you know what frequency they're gonna be monitoring and pass a message. Kinda like a phone tree.
Right, and another option in that particular scenario is if you have one person that's in the middle, all right? You develop their station so that it's on a higher antenna, it has a more powerful radio on it, okay? Because you can actually take these radios and put a better antenna on them and reach out a lot further. I've taken one of these radios, connected it to an antenna that's on top of my house. It's a 9-foot long UHF VHF antenna, and
AKA lightning rod.
you got it.
Yeah?
And it hit a tower that's 50 miles away, a repeater tower 50 miles away. Okay,
And then you also have to have coax long enough to come that distance into the house to
Yeah.
connect to the radio.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts there, but that can be done. All right, and then it can be done through 2 meter, 70 centimeter, which is your technician level license, okay, which is what these radios are. Right? It can be done through equipment and antennas.
But it's definitely not as simple as passing out
No, sir.
full spot
No.
radios,
No.
there's a lot more to it.
And if you are not practicing with them and trying out the scenarios, getting in the car and driving down the road from the house to see how far we can talk to each other and know how to manipulate the channels on the radio, the frequencies on the radio, so you're on the same frequency. In an emergency situation, it's not gonna work, because when he first handed me one of these radios, I finally figured out how to turn it on, but I couldn't figure out how to change to the frequency he was wanting me to change to. You know, him talking to me on the cell
Yes.
phone on the other end, trying to get me to work the radio on my end.
Yeah.
I had somebody do it for me. I've got 2 Motorola's, I've got a Baofeng, and I have a Yaesu that needs to be rehabbed. I bought these for projects. I'm not on those projects anymore. I thought about giving them to the people in my community these are my people.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that knows anything, and all I know is to do what I'm told. I don't know what permission I'm allowed to have. Like, do I need to go get a license? Is it tacky if I don't get a license? What channel do I choose? What channel do I not choose because somebody else is using that? I don't know any of that stuff. Is that a class? Do I need to go Google a class?
Yes,
Yes.
Depends.
yes, yes, it depends. You're right, you're right. So, I mean, to the novice, these are complicated, but once you start playing with them, you learn, okay? Do you need a license to operate on GMRS, General Mobile Radio Service? Yes, it's a $35 license. You go to the FCC website, you fill out the information, you pay them $35. The license is good for 10 years, and it covers your entire family.
There's no test for the
There's no
GMRS
test.
license.
The next level up would be your technician license, which operates on the ham bands, which has the repeaters that we've talked about, and higher power. GMRS is limited to 50 watts. All right? UHF, VHF, you can go 1500 watts.
And those are the hand bands?
Yes. All right? HF, you can go 1500 watts. I know a lot of people would go higher than that, but
Can you say that again? The hand bands? And
ham bands are 1500 watts.
And the GMRS bands
Yeah,
are
are 50
watts
watts.
maximum. But your handheld GMRS radios are not 50-watt
No.
radios. It would take a mobile or a base size radio.
To do that.
Is there a place for, CB radios anymore?
Yes.
Yes. All right. CB radio, which is actually 11 meter band. If you look at the
And the
whole
radio
band-
frequency
and the radio
band.
frequency and the whole spectrum out there. CB radio is not what it used to be. It's very crowded, very colorful,
That's
so
a
to
good way
speak.
to put it.
You know, we did know of a group that was down in Florida that their alternate communication was gonna be CB radio. You know, they worked it, they practiced it and all that stuff. And then when it hit, the hurricane hit down in Florida, well, okay, we're going to there. Our cell phones aren't working, so we're going to our CB radio. Well, it didn't work because it was too crowded.
Oh, because CB radios are still plentiful out there in the world, especially for people that drive trucks and all.
And
A lot of
everybody-
people still have them in their homes.
They've got them out there because it is simple to use. It's 40 channels. You turn the knob. Okay, we're going to start on channel 3, then we're going to go to channel 9, we're going to go to channel 12.
You're not
Okay.
having to tune it.
You don't have to tune it. But they found out that all 40 channels were jam-packed because everybody had the same idea. So it didn't work. The advantages of being on the ham frequencies are you have just about an infinite number of frequencies that you can tune to. Usually you'll go in 3 kilohertz steps, okay? So if I am on 146,490, all All right, well, there's somebody talking on there, okay? I'll go to 146.520, see if somebody's there, or 550. All right, that's the advantage of the ham, is you're on frequencies and not on dedicated channels. Yes, sir.
What's been your experience between, you kind of answered my question, when the frequencies get busy, you know, in an emergency situation, does 2 meter and 70 centimeter get overloaded to a point? Is 1.25 something to look into, you know, try to ban handheld?
Right.
Because of less traffic on those lanes?
No, the 2 meter, 70 centimeter stuff does not get that crowded,
Okay.
okay? The repeaters get crowded.
Yeah.
All right, but that's fine, because you want to monitor those anyway, because that's information that you're drawing in from the community. Because all of your 2 meter stuff, which is what your handhelds are, all right, that type of stuff is local to your area. So yeah, you're gonna get that information, you're gonna listen to it, you're gonna monitor it.
We have a question.
Yes,
You mentioned the travel versus like a home base. If we were gonna invest in just one, what are the pros and cons of both, and what would you recommend?
If you're staying with GMRS or the 2 meter bands and not talking about the HF radio, I would have handhelds, but what we tend to do is we have a mobile base, and we can either put it in the vehicle with us or take it in the house. It can go both places, and it's small enough that it's easy to transfer from place to place. And then we have antennas that fit the vehicle, but we also have antennas on the house that will work with that same radio.
because all the modern base stations, the larger and higher wattage ones, run off of 12 volts. So when you put one of those in your house, you're running inverter from 110 to 12 volts. Or you can run it off of a battery. If it's in the car, you can wire it into the battery. Our rig that we use in our car is a dual band, it's an ICOM 7100, and it does the HF frequencies as well as the 2 meter, 70 centimeter frequencies. And I run that strictly off on a battery, separate battery in the car. A lithium ion phosphate battery is connected to that radio.
Yeah, we bought a new truck to us, new to us. It was definitely not new, but lots and lots of electronics on it. And he was gonna hook the radio up. I'm going, no, you're not. You're not blowing my truck up. So he put a battery in the back under the seat. It works just fine.
Yes. Yeah, so and that's an option, and it's easy to move if we have to, because it's not hardwired into anything.
Right.
Do you have to recharge your 12-volt battery a lot?
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
It's a 40 amp hour lithium ion phosphate battery by Bino, and we've used it out transmitting in the field. Where are we going? It's okay. We've transmitted continuously for 3 to 4 hours on that battery and monitored longer without having to recharge. And those batteries are rechargeable through, you can plug it in the wall, you can hook solar panels to it to recharge it. You know, matter of fact, right, we've got a solar panel in the truck that travels with us. And we have an additional radio gear that travels with us when we go out. So it's in 2 cases, 2 Pelican type cases. And we can set our gear up in the field in 15 minutes. And we will be on the air talking. And that consists of an HF radio, the battery, a wire antenna, 62.5 feet long, and a tuner amplifier. All right, we only put out 100 watts of power, and we've talked all over the world on that setup.
Now, the first 5 times we tried to do this and set up in the field, we made maybe 5 contacts the whole time.
That was ugly.
We had to learn.
We had to learn.
It was a new experience, and we had to figure out how to make the antenna work that we were throwing up in the tree. First thing we had to do was learn how to throw it up in the tree. We've come a long way since then, though. We've got a couple of other antenna ideas that work just as well, but
Yes,
it just didn't work.
yes, sir.
You could also get a DC to DC charger.
A DC to DC charger? Yes,
Yes,
yes.
Charge controller.
Yeah, through the charge, yeah, you can do it that way. Like I said, what, the solar panels put out DC voltage anyway. So,
So that would be another.
yes, that would be another option.
like the cigarette plug.
Yes. Yes, sir.
To get back to this lady's question right here, what we have found as a group is everybody's got these radios. And we thought we could put one of these radios on the kitchen counter or a charger or something on the kitchen counter and use it for a base station so that everybody that's out messing, we have poor cell phone service in the first place. And we could carry these radios and talk back to some sort of central base.
To the local operator.
But it never works, because that radio that sits on the kitchen counter is always dead, or it's always not turned on, or somebody took it to the bathroom with them and left it in the bathroom, or whatever, so that's what we're trying to cure, and I think these base stations, they're mobile base stations,
Yeah.
but you can leave them turned on and plugged in all the time,
Yes.
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So I think that would serve the purpose of a central location, and then everybody that leaves takes a handheld.
Right.
Our 2-meter radio in the house stays turned on 90% of the time, and it just continuously scans.
Yeah, we have multiple repeaters set up in our radio, and it scans through all of them. So when a transmission comes through, if it's long enough, it'll lock on it, and it'll stay there. And see, and that's another thing, we run a Bearcat unit and scanner in our house 24/7. All right, that is another source of information. Our weather comes from the southwest. I have the utility company and police department's information stored in that scanner. So when the storms come and they start reporting tree damage, down power lines, flooded roads, I get that information, and then I can make a decision. Okay, I need to make sure everything's locked down. This is gonna be a severe storm coming in my area, or, okay, it's a nothing burger. But I have that information to make that decision.
And where we're listening to, we've got about 20 minutes before that storm typically passes over us.
So these are police scanners that you're listening, that you're monitoring?
That's what they refer to, but these days, the scanners they hit a lot of the frequencies out there. They will even pick up these
Close
radios
by.
right here,
Yes.
okay? So if you're running one of those scanners and you have the close-in feature activated on that, and somebody keys this radio up close to your house, it's gonna come through that scanner. And you're gonna know that there's somebody talking on the radio close to you.
Does it
First
make
time-
any difference what channel they're on?
Nope.
Nope, it'll pick it up. and
Because
it-
it's frequency based, okay? These radios are frequency based.
And the scanner will scan that whole frequency. Cause it surprised me the first time I was hearing it, and I was going, the radio's turned off, how come I'm hearing this? And then we realized that we had that feature turned on and didn't realize it, because we don't have a lot of people that talk on those radios close to our house. But
Yeah.
we do now, we're
And
sorry.
there's a net. What a net is in ham radio world is you'll have a net coordinator, net operator, will get on a certain frequency at a certain time and start calling for check-ins. And what it is, people that are on that frequency that are interested will call back to this guy and talk to him. He'll log his call sign, and then later on they'll get back to him and say, okay, do you have any traffic for the net? Meaning, do you want to talk to us? Do you have anything? Great way to get information on what's going on in the community if it's a local net, if it's on high frequency, the HF rigs, countrywide. All right, I monitor a lot of nets. I run a Thursday night net. get a lot of information that way. And, we've got one that pops up on Thursday nights and comes through our scanner.
What sort?
Let me get this guy. Yes, sir.
So, what would you recommend? Is there any way to have a base station unmanned? So, for example, can you monitor frequencies unmanned and then forward to, say, if you're mobile at the time and you have a fixed location? Is there any way to?
Okay. Yes, there is, but you cannot do it on voice. All right? It would have to be done digital,
By alert or something?
okay, by using a software and a digital mode called JS8 Call or WinLink. WinLink does email over radio. All right? So you could take it and it would email into your radio and then you could forward it to another station.
Yeah, I see the problem of having a base station and having to sit on your ass in a chair 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
it doesn't, it
Yeah.
doesn't. But that's why your repeaters are basically that. They gather the information and then they relay it out, okay? So if you're in your truck, well, you've got it monitored in your truck. If you're in the area for where the repeater will relay the information
So
to.
the repeater will take care
The
of that.
repeater would take care of that. And you can actually, and there's stuff on YouTube, take these little Bofang radios and turn them into repeaters. Meaning if you're in a gully over here, you're in the holler over here, and you got a mountain in between, you can take two of these, put them together, put an antenna on it, and make a poor man's repeater. Okay? They don't last real long. They'll burn up.
Yeah.
Okay, but they will work in an emergency situation. So you put it together, you test it, you leave it in the Faraday cage. So if you need it, it needs to be in this high spot right here. The antenna's already in place. We bring the radios with the power supply. We put it next to it. We hook it up, and boom, we're talking.
Instant OS repeater.
That's it. That's it. So.
When you have those check-ins, what sorts of things get relayed?
It depends on the purpose of the net and what the group has decided you want to relay. We participate in Skywarn nets, weather nets.
Yeah.
And most of the time, it's just a plain check-in to make sure that the net control station can hear people and how far away those people are. I mean, because he'll kind of plot where they are and who they are. But then if the weather starts to get bad somewhere, the net control station will come in and activate the net, and you'll start reporting weather in your area, what you're seeing, what's happening, if you've got high winds, or if you've got hail, or if you've got flooding rain. And it's just an information gathering source.
And a lot of times on the HF nets, the high frequency nets, I know there's one that comes out of Texas that I listen to, and they start off that net, they do a prayer for that net to begin with, and then the first thing out of their mouth, gold, silver, and oil prices. Okay? This is what's going on. This is the price of silver closed at today, this is the price of gold closed at, and this is what oil's doing. It's up or down, all right? And I think they even started talking about Bitcoin here lately. And I don't know why, none of us can afford to buy Bitcoin. But anyway, they do that, and then everybody will check in, and then they'll come back to you and say, all right, what's going on in your area? Well, we're seeing gasoline shortages, or the price of gas dropped in my area 10 cents this week. Or it went up. So, that's a lot of the stuff that you'll see, but that way you'll know what's going on around the country. Because on the HF nets, the high frequency nets, which takes your general license, you're countrywide, you're worldwide, listening to stuff on those nets. And you can get a lot of information to see what's coming your way. Us in Mississippi, we usually run 3 to 4 months behind other parts of the country on shortages, job layoffs, things like that, gas hikes. We run behind everybody else. So that way we know what's coming on and we kind of prepare for it. I It's like a while back, when they had the shortage of flour and sugar. Well, I was hearing that, so we stocked up. And it wasn't as bad in our area as it got in some other areas. But that's one of the things that we use these radios for. To gather that information, to communicate. My daughter lives 1.5 miles from us. She has a radio. Her brother lives, half a mile away from us. He has a radio. My grandson, when he's running around the property, he's got a radio on him. Yes, sir.
So with these frequencies and these channels and stuff, is there a place you can go that has them labeled for what they are, like you said, for the one out in Texas, it gives you the gold and silver and all that?
There is a software feature out there, a website called NetLogger. NetLogger, L-O-G-G-R, or L-O-G-R, not sure. And you can go on that and look up what nets are active that particular night.
And those are for published nets. Now, some of these nets, they may never publicly publish it, but if you happen to be scanning and you notice every day they're coming on here at this time, then you can start listening and participating if you so choose to.
Right. That's like in our area, we've got a Mississippi net that's on 3.862, comes on at 6 o'clock in the morning. All right. Not a lot of information on that net. And in the evening, they run one at 38.60. And then later on in the evening, there's a bunch of guys that get on at 38.442, 42.5. And they talk about everything.
And they're not all from Mississippi.
They're all from Mississippi, they're all over. And those other two nets I mentioned are not necessarily all from Mississippi people either. You've got Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia people that talk to that net as well. So you've got, and that's the advantage of having that general license, so you can get that HF frequencies out there and really gather in.
With that said, if you don't have your general license, but you are knowledgeable enough to set up a radio and antenna and tune in on those frequencies, you can listen all day long, you just can't transmit.
Right.
That was gonna be my next
Yes.
question,
Okay.
like that license, that's for the GMRS or for
That-
hams or
That's for ham, GMRS and ham.
both?
Both, yes. GMRS is a separate license, and then you've got 3 levels of your ham license. You have the technician, you have the general, and the amateur extra.
And you have to pass them in order to get the next one.
Yes. They're not hard.
They're not.
And then one more question, may already been asked, but, can the GMRSs and or hams, can they communicate with like the handheld CD radios, walkie-talkies, that kind of stuff, or?
The GMRS frequencies can be programmed into handheld radios. Yes. Okay.
And there are GMS mobile and base stations also
Yeah.
that are strictly just for those frequencies.
We have groups that we've consulted with that some of their members are not able for one reason or another to get their ham license. So we set them up on a GMRS network. All right. So because you can do 50 watts on a GMRS base station, and with a proper antenna and pushing 50 watts, you can hit a good range out there. And then there's other modes that are really down in the rabbit hole. You can get into the digital modes on the UHF side that do really well, very clear modes on that. But that's a whole deep dive into that. Yes, sir.
How much is your GMRS license?
The GMRS license is $35. You can go
For 10 years.
for 10 years, and that is good for the entire family.
That covers you, your spouse, your children, your grandchildren.
That is on the FCC's website.
And the hams, is it,
It's a 10-year license also, but you'll have to take the test and pass it. The FCC will then send you an email and you have to pay them a $35 fee before they will issue the license to you.
And testing these days is a lot easier for the ham license. You can do it in person, but they have online testing as well.
There's a lot of groups that are doing online testing.
We do not do any online testing. All of our testing that we administer is all face-to-face. Yes, ma'am?
So there's GMRS, and then there's HF,
Yes.
and
Yep,
HF is ham.
yes,
Now, are these different devices or different
Yes.
frequencies?
both,
Both.
Okay.
both. They are both.
And how do you know? It says on the package.
Most of the time.
Most of the time it does. It will say GMRS
Yeah.
on it, okay? A lot, and then I didn't even throw in family radio service.
Yeah.
The little bubble packs that you buy at Walmart,
Your
Yeah.
walkie-talkies?
your walkie-talkies, that's family radio service. All right? That is actually about the same frequencies as your GMRS frequencies. So if you have a dedicated GMRS radio and somebody has one of those little Walmart bubble packs,
And they're close enough to
they're
you?
close enough to you, they'll talk. If you can find the right, make sure that you're on the right channel, okay? So this one's gotta be on channel 1 and this one's gotta be on channel 1, and they should talk. If they don't, leave one on a channel and then just scroll down through the channels. And that's the thing about the GMRS and the FRS, is they're channelized, they're not frequency. Okay? It's like CB radio. You've got channels 1 through 40, or GMRS, you got channels 1 through 22.
And the FRS bubble pack radios, walkie-talkies, do not require a license.
No, they do not. They are usually a half a watt little antenna.
That does not come off the top.
No, it doesn't
If you
come off
break
the
it
top.
off, it's not gonna work.
No.
Just saying.
Yes, sir.
Is there a place you go to get a list of the channels? You said you can listen to the HF. Is there, like, where I'm at, I got a Baofeng with a 3-foot little folding antenna on it, and I have no way of picking up anything. And I didn't know if there was a way, like, you could program in repeaters just to listen.
All right, to program in repeaters, which is on UHF, there is, it's called repeaterbook.com.
And it will tell you every repeater in the United States, wherever you're going.
You don't need a license to access that website?
No, sir.
No.
Awesome. It's like some of them, it's like, what you're,
What
when you
your
plug
call
it in
sign.
without having
Yes.
a license, and I'm like, well, this is really good.
Yeah, no, repeaterbook.com.
Now, there are features on repeaterbook.com you will not be able to access without having a license, but just to see if the repeaters are there, you'll
And
be
somebody
okay.
told me with the ham radio, it has a different broadcasting frequency or whatever to a receiving, like it's a plus or minus or
Okay,
something like that.
all right, that is going into a repeater on UHF, VHF.
Okay.
Okay? The way a repeater works, it'll come in on one frequency and then change the frequency and rebroadcast it. So when you set your radio up, you have a transmit frequency and a receive frequency. And all that information is on Repeater Book, and again, that's another little rabbit hole that you go down to know whether it's a plus or minus 6 or 5, depending on what the frequency is. Yes.
Now, all of the handheld radios, if you're tech savvy, you can program on this faceplate, but there's tons of menus in here that you have to sort through. He does programming using computer to program and cable and connect them together so they talk, and with software, and it's a whole lot easier and faster.
Yeah, and that program is CHIRP, C-H-I-R-P.
And it's a free software download.
It's a free software download. CHIRP, C-H-I-R-P. And when you learn it, and when you learn that program and you get to playing with it, you can go up under File and then scroll down and hit one thing that says Stock Configuration. And when you click on Stock Configuration, it brings you up a whole bunch of pre-programmed stuff that's already in there, like all the GMRS frequencies, all the FRS frequencies, the NOAA weather radio frequencies. You can select those. You can download all that into your radio. And that's not just for Baofeng radios. That will work on your Kenwood radios, your ICOM radios, your TYTs, your Yaesus, your Radiodities, all of them, a lot of them. Anyway, and there's a whole list that will tell you what radio it will operate off of, and download the information. Yes?
So, when you're dealing with having stubby antennas, per se, and you're using low power on a handheld, trying not to get too far out of, say, holler.
Right?
Got a couple miles down the road, has a pretty decent sized antenna down there. Is that only, so because you're broadcasting at low power with a small antenna, is it likely that he's gonna be able to hear you way down the road? Or because you're broadcasting so low? I guess my question is, does the antenna size matter for broadcasting as well as transmitting?
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. If you're on a stubby, which I know a lot of people that use stubbies, okay, and you're down on low power, and he's a mile down the road or something like that, chances are he's not gonna hear you, all right? One way to find, I mean, antenna in UHF, VHF world is everything, all right? That's why you went to a stubby antenna, is so your, what's called the radiating pattern, meaning how far out it gets, is not real great with some of those stubbies. Okay, and then especially when you've got it turned down, if you're down in a holler, no. Now if you're up on the top of a hill, he may hear you if he's got a good antenna.
And that is something good to remember, is when you are talking on the radios, your conversation is not totally private.
No.
Oh, I get that all the time.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Do you have to have a GMR license to get a ham radio license?
No.
No.
No. We had our ham radio license long before we had our GMRS license. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So if you and your family all have one of those, how do you know what frequency that you all need to be on to hear each other?
Very good question.
That good question. That is where your PACE plan comes in. Okay, PACE plan for community. Your primary, your alternate, contingency, and emergency. All right? You as a group sit down and figure that out. All right, if you're on GMRS, okay, our primary channel is going to be channel 3. If we have interference or someone talking on 3, we're going to go to channel 5. All right, and so far down the list, you do 3 or 4 that way. Or you can just say, okay, if someone's on channel 3, skip 2. And then et cetera all the way down, instead of having to break it out. All right? Because in an emergency, you're going to be surprised how active radio's suddenly going to become. You won't hear a soul out there for months until something happens, and then everybody's on the radio. And some of them going to be acting the fool, just to tell you.
But it does take pre-planning and practice to know
Yeah.
what you're gonna use in that emergency
And
situation.
then when you develop that plan and channels and or frequencies, depending on whether you're on GMRS or whether you're on the ham bands, put it on a card, put it on the back of the radio. All right? Because you're going to forget. Or if one of the kids is in an emergency and has to pick up the radio, well, how do I talk to mom? How do I talk to dad? Well, that information's on the back of that radio right there. I know people that take this stuff, they have all the basics. This is how you turn the radio on. This is how you change the channel. It's on a card, it's put with the radio in a box, along with the charger. So it's all together in one little kit. Yes, sir?
Now, on the antenna, do you have to have a bi-directional antenna, or can you use, I guess we have like home TV antenna. Now, would that work?
The whole
The TV antenna will not work for radio frequencies.
Okay.
Yes.
The TV frequencies are different than the radio
Right,
frequencies.
yeah, I figured that.
But they do make directional antennas,
Yes.
okay, for ham radio.
Okay.
They do. And a Yagi antenna is an example of that. And what it does, it radiates off of one specific side, one specific point of that antenna. So you can turn that antenna, the way you used to the old big TV antennas, you know, I've got a TV station over here and I got one over here. Well, I gotta turn my antenna this way to get to it. If I wanted this one, I gotta turn it back this way, all right? Ham radio, you have the same thing on antennas. You can put up the old school, big, huge antennas up there and turn them so they're directional, all right? We run a lot of stuff off of a wire antenna, which is omnidirectional. And it picks up off the sides. You got it. I love antennas. We build a lot of wire antennas. We build dipole antennas, which is wire goes this way, wire goes this way, and it's center fed. Okay? And so I like antennas. We build it, and she tolerates me.
I tolerate it. But with that said, if you're going with an antenna that's not connected to the radio like the handhelds, there's many different kinds, and you're gonna have to look at your location and the amount of space you have and the amount of height you can get and what you're willing to build as infrastructure to make it work. You can spend a lot of money, you can make some real elaborate things, or you can go as simple as we do, and when that wire quits working in that tree, we'll take it down and put us another one up.
Yeah, you can, it's like any endeavor, you can go as deep as you want to it and spend as much money as you want to on it.
So I can utilize the old analog TV antenna that somebody stuck on the house I live in. That's up there about 35 feet.
You could use the pole that it's on,
Yes.
you can't
Yes.
use the antenna.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yes.
Yes, and our old satellite dish network base is still on our roof, and that's what has our 2-meter antenna in it.
Sure
We
is.
use the clamp on it.
I went up there, clamped the antenna to it, ran the coax in, dropped it in the house, boom, great to go. And I do a lot of work, commercial work, and I was on the roof, and they had an old satellite base up there, square metal that had their satellite on it, and it's all disconnected. And I said, "What are you gonna do with that?" They said, "Well, we gotta get somebody to take it down. I'll take care of it for you." So I took it down, and it makes a fantastic ground mount antenna because it's got the big heavy square base on it. It's got a place to put a vertical pole on it. You put it on there, boom, up. And I've got a temporary, or it could be permanent, antenna mount right there that I can move around and play with. My scanner that we were talking about, I have a big outside remote antenna for my scanner. I've picked up broadcasts from Davy Crockett State Park in Tennessee, which is 175 miles from my house. Okay? Through that, it's called a dish cone antenna. So antenna is key, and especially on UHF, VHF, 2 things, antenna height and power. That's what makes it work. Yes, sir.
Now, how far can you get with your hand radio? Can you get overseas?
My ham
No.
radio,
Oh, ham radio.
ham radio,
No.
yes. On 100 watts, we have talked all over the world. On a wire antenna that we put up in a tree.
Yeah.
We've hit Italy, Spain, Jerusalem, Czechoslovakia.
We've not hit Australia, but we typically are not up at the time of the night that Australia is active.
You're not missing much.
Yes, sir.
But it's not as reliable as just picking up the phone, right? Depends on conditions and
Yes.
things like
Yes.
that.
You are correct.
You are correct.
You are correct. But then there are other modes, like we talked about, the digital modes that are more reliable than voice. Okay, we've been talking about single sideband phone, which is all voice. All right? Your digital modes are a little bit more reliable because they don't require what's called bandwidth. They don't require as much bandwidth, as much power to get out. They'll knock through the noise. Yes, sir.
Now, does your antenna, does it have to be shielded?
No. Coax is shielded, but not the antenna.
Right, that's what I'm saying, you know, in other words, you can't just run too long, you have to have the coax to shield it.
Yes, because,
Yes.
because you have to do what's called matching. You have to match that antenna
Yeah,
to your radio. And that
Okay.
requires a 50 ohm coax. You can't use regular TV coax for this. You have to use a 50 ohm coax. Most of your TV is 75 ohms.
okay,
the ham radio guys taught me that. When we first started, it's like, oh, I got a bunch of that at home. It's what we're not using on our TV anymore. And they laughed at me and said, no, you can't use that. I'm like, okay.
Yes, sir.
So you were talking about your scanner. I was gonna ask it before if you were using a dedicated scanner or the scan function on the radio, but I think you kind of answered that. So what kind of scanner do you use?
I'm using a Bearcat unit and scanner.
Bearcat and Unity?
Yeah, unit and Bearcat, actually, yes. And they have different models of those. A lot of your police departments and stuff are going to what's called P25, I think it is, and that's a digital mode. So some of your older scanners will not pick that up, but I think they have a new one out there. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they have a new one out there that will pick it up. So, and those scanners, they're kind of pricey. They run in that $500 to $600 range. But yeah, you put that out with a good antenna, a good external antenna, and you can gather a lot of information. But then, along that same note, if you know the analog frequencies of your local power company, your local police department, fire department, whatever, you can scan that put it in your radio and do a scan feature and scan it right off of this. So if there's an event going on in the area, you can set this up to scan and you can scan those frequencies.
A lot of it's gonna depend on what that particular agency is using, what format that they're transmitting in. And you just have to learn.
And there's, and I can't remember it, but there's a website out there where you can go and get that information. Yes, sir.
Is there still a use for a radio like the old Zenith Oceanics?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. The Zenith, the question was, is there still a use for the Zenith Oceanic radios? And if you're not familiar with those were a tube radio from the 40s, 50s, and 60s, which I have 4 or 5 of those. By the way.
I want one of those.
We may talk. And they are fun, but they were shortwave broadcast. You don't have as much shortwave out there as you used to, but there are still stations that broadcast shortwave. Yes, sir.
What's mesh-tastic for that type of style of digital radio?
Okay, mesh-tastic. That's a deep rabbit hole.
It is, and it's one we're still learning.
Yes.
We've got the basics.
Yes. Mesh-tastic is a short-range messaging system. It uses your cell phone to do text messaging. You have what's called Bluetooth, and you have a node that's set up. And you power the node, and you use your Bluetooth to connect to the node, send a text message, and it will send it out. It's real interesting. There's a lot of people using it. We have not played with it very much at all. I have some of the gear, but I just haven't had the time to do it.
And there are areas having great success with it, but they're working together because you have to have the nodes no more than a certain distance apart, and so it's kind of close proximity.
And it's like anything else, the higher the node, the better off it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this got to be powered. So most of them, they're using these nodes they're battery operated, but they've got solar panels on them. So it's got to be mounted somewhere that it can keep the battery charged.
Josh Noss with Ham Radio Crash Course did a good overview on mesh-tastic. Josh has good radio information.
What's that?
Ham Radio Crash
Ham
Course.
Radio Crash Course.
On YouTube.
On YouTube. Another good source for basic radio information, especially on the Balfangs, is Not a Rubicon. He's a very interesting guy. He has a very dry sense of humor.
He is also on YouTube.
He is also on YouTube. He will tell you 2 things that are wrong with the radio. And that's the way he does it. 2 things.
What was his name?
Not a Rubicon. Don't ask me how to spell it.
See if I still.
She may have it on her phone.
I do.
We have a few minutes left. What else we got? Yes,
So, like a lot of our new phones now, because they don't have an eSIM, or have an eSIM card now, they're
Okay.
using SOS on their phones, like we get satellite information on their phones.
yes.
Would that change the way radios still work on our base plan if we're gonna have SOS or satellite on our phones in the future?
Good possibility, I don't know. I know that satellite technology was introduced here a few months ago. T-Mobile and Starlink hooked up to begin with. AT&T and another company is supposed to come out with it. The question is all that gonna talk together? That's gonna be the question on that. I think there's always gonna be a place for the radio on this. The satellite stuff, we use a SpotX to do text messaging over satellite.
It's similar to a Garmin InReach. There's another brand out there too.
Yeah, that's the two major brands. That is part of our PACE plan. It's like step 2 on the, or step 1 on the emergency is we'll take that and send a text message out. And I can send a text message from that SpotX to her cell phone. And if she's in an area that has cell phone service, it will go through. It takes a couple of minutes, but it will go through.
But then we both also have a SpotX and it can go from device to device.
Yes.
But the satellite, you do have to be in a fairly open area for the satellite to connect
It
with.
will not work inside a building.
Not very well at all.
Yes.
What level of license do you need to like transmit, like if you're going through a repeater, what license would that be?
That would be your technician license.
Okay.
That's your level 1 license. Right, to get on the high frequency license, the airwaves that talk around the world, you need your general license. And one of the things, if you're studying for your technician license, you go on ARRL.org.
It's ARRL.org.
Yes.
Yes.
.org. Go on their website and you can register on their website for free. And they have testing, practice tests, they have the entire question pool out there, and you can go in and study, take practice tests, and when you're taking those practice tests, your technician license test is 35 multiple choice questions. You'll have 4 answers. It'll be one of the possible 4 in there.
But now they're drawing those 35 questions from a pool of about 450 questions.
Okay.
And it's broken into 10 different sub-elements, and there's a certain number of questions from each sub-element. Makes it easy to study because you can just take a piece at a time and learn it, and then you put it all together.
So when you're taking those practice tests and you're scoring approximately 80%, because it takes 73% or 74% to pass the test.
It gets 26 questions correct out of 35.
Yeah, I get 26 out of 35. So when you're scoring approximately 80% on your technician test, start studying for your general. It's a little bit more in-depth information, but it's basically the same information. Your brain is in learning mode at that time. For most of us, it takes 2 to 3 weeks for our brain to get itself in learning mode.
Unless you're somebody that's still in school doing a lot of studying, you kind of lose that ability to learn stuff fast.
Right. So when you're studying and you're saying this stuff's just not sticking, it's not doing anything, give it 2 to 3 weeks. And keep studying, and keep doing the things and do the practice tests, it'll start clicking. All right? But when you're studying for that technician and your practice tests are 80%, start studying for that general. Your ultimate goal should be your general license.
And for some of you, depending on your work background and what you do for a living, it's gonna be easier than for others. He didn't have as hard a time learning the technician in general as I did, but he deals a lot with electrical components and the way things work, and I deal with children in school.
That's a whole nother set of skills.
Yes.
That's why she can tolerate me.
Yes, so imagine like cell phones, these radios over time, technology changes, they just continuously improve, or can a guy buy, if you bought a radio 10 years ago, is it still good, or is that not
Yes.
the case with ham radios?
It's a both situation. The ham radios are improving constantly, okay? They get better filtering in there, meaning you can knock out some unwanted noise and signals, and they add the capabilities to monitor two frequencies at the same time, all right? Does the older stuff still work? Oh, yeah.
As long as there's not broken components inside.
Yes. Yes. Do I recommend that beginners buy used equipment to start with? Not really. Okay. Because you don't know what you're getting on that. There's a lot of good people to buy used equipment from, but there's nobody really working on the radios anymore. It's like everything else in our world, it's become disposable.
It has. But it's kind of like buying a used car versus a new car. A new car, chances are everything's gonna work on it. A used car, unless you're a car mechanic, well, it drove great today, but next week it breaks down. You don't know.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm gonna get slammed for,
And you're gonna have to go.
I'm gonna have to close out on this, is buying a radio is like buying a Ford, Chevy, whatever, okay? It's all in the question of what you like. We personally use ICOM radios now. We've gone through the gambit between Yazoo and Kenwood and Flex radios and all the above. We use ICOM radios now. We really like the ICOM 7300 as a beginner to intermediate radio. It has a lot of good features on it. It's pretty easy to use.
And I had him do that for me, because I struggled going from brand to brand to brand, because the menus are different, the buttons are in a different place, and I could never remember how to change it.
Yeah.
But when we stick with the icon, from version to version of the icon, the menus are almost identical and the buttons are almost always in the same locations.
Yes, but that's to say, Yazoo makes great radios
Yes,
out
they do.
there. Kenwood makes great radios out there as well.
And the same thing with them. When you stay within that brand, it's easier to move to a different model of the radio.
Yeah. And all those, Kenwood makes good handhelds, ICOM makes good handheld radios as well. Motorola's got good stuff out there. All right. The Bofang, and we've talked a lot about the Bofang simply because it is one of the least expensive radios on the market, and it is the one that most people have in their bags and in their cars. So, thank y'all very much.
Yes,
We
thank you.
appreciate it. Come down to our booth and see us.